My friend, you were not born for weakness. You were not crafted in the image of dust, but in the image of God. And yet, we walk through this world as if we were made to crawl. So I ask you, how do you make yourself strong? Strength begins in the spirit. Before your hands ever lift a weight, before your feet take a step into battle, before your voice is raised to speak, there is a war that rages within, and it is there, in the secret place of your soul, that true strength is forged or forfeited. We live in a world obsessed with appearances, bodies chiseled, voices loud, images polished, but the truest strength has no need for applause because it does not begin on the outside. It is hidden. It is cultivated in silence. It is born not in the muscles of flesh, but in the marrow of the spirit. Consider a tree, tall, mighty, reaching into the heavens, but its strength is not in its trunk or its branches. It is in its roots, buried deep in the unseen soil. If those roots are weak, no matter how towering the tree may seem, the storm will bring it down in a moment. So it is with us. You may appear strong, you may speak boldly, you may even succeed for a time. But if the core is weak, it will all come crashing down. A man or woman may conquer kingdoms, gather wealth, master skills, but if the spirit is broken, everything else becomes hollow. The inner man is where faith lives or dies. It's where hope is either sustained or suffocated. If your spirit is weary, wounded, or undeveloped, no amount of discipline on the outside can make up for what's lacking within. The battles of life aren't first won with weapons. They're won with resolve, with courage, with the refusal to bow to fear. And these things are not born in the flesh. They are born in the spirit. That's why you see people with nothing still stand tall, and others with everything still fall apart. The difference is not in what they hold in their hands, it's in what they carry in their hearts. When your spirit is strong, you become unshakable, not because trouble doesn't come, but because you're anchored deeper than the storm. When the waves rise, when the winds howl, when the world crumbles, you remain. Why? Because your roots are not in circumstance, not in people's opinions, not in fleeting strength. They are planted in something eternal. That's the difference. That's the source of real strength. It doesn't puff up. It grounds you. It doesn't boast. It endures. And so if you would be truly strong, you must stop asking how to lift more, do more, prove more. You must begin to ask, asterisk, asterisk, how do I strengthen my spirit? Asterisk, asterisk, because if your spirit is right, if it's full of truth, aligned with purpose, connected to what is higher than yourself, then everything else can follow. But if your inner life is neglected, fractured, bitter, or empty, then even your greatest outward victories will ring hollow, and eventually they will collapse. Strength begins not in the limb, but in the soul. Not in noise, but in stillness, not in doing, but in being, and that's where your greatest battle and your greatest power will always be. The wilderness is the forge. It is the place of silence, of stripping, of testing. It is the land where comfort disappears, where familiar things vanish, and where the soul is left exposed to the raw elements of life. But make no mistake, the wilderness is not a curse. It is not the evidence of weakness or failure. It is the holy ground of transformation, for it is not in the palace that warriors are made. It is not in the spotlight that the soul is strengthened. It is in the solitude, in the dust, in the fire of trial, that true power is formed. Look throughout history and you will find a pattern. Every great life, every mighty voice, every unshakable soul has passed through a wilderness. It is not the easy path that forms the deep character of a person. It is the difficult one. When life withdraws its comforts, when prayers are met with silence, when doors close and roads vanish, that is when the forge begins to burn. And it burns hot, but the fire is not meant to destroy. It is meant to purify. In the wilderness, your pretenses are burned away. The masks fall off. The shallow ambitions are revealed for what they are. You come face with your own weakness, your fears, your limits, and it is there in that confrontation that the process begins. The wilderness removes what cannot remain, so that what is eternal, unshakable, and real can rise. Many try to run from the wilderness, to escape its refining flame, but those who endure it, who walk through it instead of around it, emerge changed, not just improved, but transformed. Hardship is a forge. Every trial you face, Every disappointment, loss, betrayal, every prayer that seemed unanswered is not random. It is a fire with a purpose. You may not see it in the moment. You may cry out in confusion, in pain, in exhaustion. But deep beneath the surface, something sacred is happening. The fire is shaping you into someone who cannot be shaken, someone who knows what it means to persevere, someone who has walked through fire and come out gold. The wilderness also teaches you silence. In a world addicted to noise, where meaning is often drowned out by endless chatter, the silence of the wilderness feels unbearable. But it is precisely in that silence that you begin to hear differently. You start to hear the whisper of what truly matters. You hear the still small voice that cannot be found in the crowd. The wilderness removes the distractions, the idols, the illusions, and leaves you with what is real. And if you embrace it, if you stop fighting it, you will find that the silence is not empty. It is full, full of revelation, of direction, of deep inner healing. Hardships test what you're made of. When everything is stripped away, when the applause fades, when the path ahead is uncertain, that's when the question is asked, what is your foundation? If it is weak, the fire will reveal it. But if it is strong, the fire will only make it stronger. That is the paradox of the forge. It seems to break you, but it is actually making you. The wilderness is where dependency is replaced by resilience, where pride is crushed into humility, where fear is confronted with courage. It is where the warrior is born, not on the battlefield, but in the hidden, painful, holy moments of refining. You do not leave the wilderness the same way you entered it. You leave it marked, strengthened, awakened. Because the wilderness never comes to ruin you. It comes to prepare you for what comes next. And if you submit to its fire, it will shape you into something far greater than you ever imagined. Break what binds you. You cannot be strong if you are enslaved. It does not matter how capable your body is, how persuasive your words are, or how successful your life may appear if your soul is chained. You are not free, and if you are not free, you are not strong. There are forces that operate in silence, weights that do not sit on your shoulders but on your heart, chains that cannot be seen with the eye but are felt every day in the decisions you make, the things you avoid, the burdens you carry. Fear, addiction, shame, bitterness, these are not just feelings, they are bondages, and strength cannot grow in the presence of chains. To be enslaved is not only to be under the control of another, it is to be limited, to be held back, to be unable to move fully in the direction you were created to go. There are people whose potential remains locked away, not because they lack the gift, but because they have not broken the chain. Some are bound by fear, the fear of failure, of rejection, of the unknown. That fear dictates their choices. It tells them where they can go, what they can do, and how far they're allowed to rise. It paralyzes them, robs them of courage, and whispers lies into their soul until they begin to believe them. Fear is a thief, and unless you confront it, it will keep you small. Others are chained by addiction, not just to substances, but to approval, comfort, distraction, or control. These things become masters, and when you serve a master, you lose the ability to choose. Strength is not found in dependence. It is found in the power to stand, to say no, to resist, to choose what is right even when it costs you. Addiction weakens the will. It takes a soul designed for dominion and reduces it to begging for relief. But the chain can be broken. Shame is a quieter chain, but no less powerful. It ties people to their past, to their worst moments, to the wounds they received and the mistakes they made. Shame whispers that you are not worthy, that you are too far gone, that you will never be clean. It binds your identity to your failures, and when your identity is bound, your future is too. Shame doesn't just lock the doors, it throws away the key. But strength begins when you stop believing the voice of shame and start believing the truth, that your worth was never based on perfection, and your past has no power over the purpose that still waits ahead. Then there is bitterness, the chain that disguises itself as justice. Bitterness feels righteous, it feels justified, but it is a poison. It consumes the vessel it lives in while doing nothing to the one it resents. You cannot walk forward while looking back. You cannot be strong while dragging the weight of every offense, every betrayal, every wound. Forgiveness is not a feeling, it is a weapon. It cuts the chain. It does not excuse the wrong, it releases you from it. Whatever binds you must be broken. There is no other way. You were not created to live in chains. You were not formed to walk in circles, stuck in the same cycles year after year. You were meant to rise, to build, to fight, to lead, but none of those things can happen while you remain bound. So you must name your chains, confront them, and break them, because freedom is not optional, it is essential. And only the free can be truly strong. Walk in the power of purpose. Strength is not just found in resistance, it is found in direction. You can build muscle by lifting weights, but without purpose, your strength has no aim. True power is not merely the ability to push back against pressure, it is the ability to move forward with conviction, clarity, and fire. When you walk in alignment with your divine calling, when your steps are ordered not by impulse but by destiny, something within you ignites. You are no longer driven by external validation or temporary rewards. You are moved by a force deeper than ambition. That force is purpose. Purpose answers the question, why am I here? And when you know the answer to that question, everything changes. Your decisions become intentional. Your time becomes sacred. Your battles become strategic. A person without purpose is like a ship without a compass, tossed by the waves, pulled by every current, arriving nowhere. But a person who walks in purpose has direction, and direction brings strength, not because life becomes easier, but because you now know what is worth fighting for. You stop wasting your strength on meaningless conflicts. You conserve it for what matters. When you understand your identity, who you were created to be, you begin to reject anything that contradicts it. You no longer entertain every distraction, every temptation, every lie. You know that you are made with a design, a mission, a divine intention, and that knowledge empowers you. Purpose becomes the lens through which you see the world. Challenges no longer just hurt, they shape. Pain no longer just wounds, it prepares. You begin to see even your struggles as part of something bigger. There is a strength that comes when you are no longer living for applause, comfort, or comparison. When you walk in purpose, you stop copying others and start becoming who you truly are. You find that your uniqueness is not a flaw, it is the mark of your calling, and with that realization comes power. Power to stand alone if needed, power to say no when others say yes, power to keep walking even when the path is lonely, even when it's hard, because you know it leads somewhere worth going. Purpose gives endurance. Without it, the first storm will knock you over, the first delay will discourage you, the first criticism will derail you, but with it you become immovable, not because you're perfect, but because you're anchored. Purpose is the anchor. It keeps your heart steady when everything around you shakes. It gives you the reason to rise again after failure, to speak when you're afraid, to build when no one else believes. It gives your strength depth and your life meaning. You do not find purpose by accident. You find it by seeking. You ask, you listen, you follow the signs etched deep into your soul. You pay attention to what makes your heart burn, what stirs you in the quiet moments, what draws you towards something greater than yourself. And when you find it, or even when you begin to glimpse it, you walk in it. Even if your steps are small, even if the way isn't clear, because purpose is not a destination, it is a path, and every step you take in alignment with it multiplies your strength. There are people stronger than you in skill, in stature, in resources, but if you walk in purpose, you will go farther, because strength that comes from purpose does not burn out, it renews, it grows. It fuels a life that is not only strong, but unstoppable. Here is the conclusion for your speech titled How to Make Yourself Strong, written in the same powerful prophetic style. So how do you make yourself strong? Not by lifting weights, but by lifting your soul. Not by hardening your heart, but by refining your spirit. Strength begins not in the body, but in the hidden places. the spirit, the wilderness, the breaking, the calling. You grow strong when you let the fire forge you rather than consume you. You grow strong when you shatter the chains that have held you for too long. You grow strong when you stop wandering and start walking in purpose, your purpose. And that strength is not loud. It does not always roar. Sometimes it stands in silence. Sometimes it kneels in surrender, but it never bows to fear. So rise, not in your own power, but in the strength that comes from within, from above, from the place where truth lives. The world does not need more noise. It needs people of substance, people of strength, people like asterisk you asterisk, if you will choose it, because you were not made to fall. You were made to stand. Now go and walk strong.